them and told them, I have the solution. I need 10 minutes with Donald Trump because I can end poverty immediately and beef up the production of promissory notes by the Federal Reserve. I mean, I'm not trying to take anything away. In fact, it'll put more Federal Reserve notes in circulation, and it will end poverty, and everybody will have a limitless amount of money or Federal Reserve notes to spend on anything that they want, because at the bottom of the promissory note is the terms and conditions, and I want everyone to email me that's listening. You can email me, and I will send you the template, and I will send you the statutes and codes and the supporting information. And you can email me at ronfarnham@gmail.com, and my last name is on your website. So they can go to your website, see my name as one of the guests tonight. It says Ronald Farnham is a guest. It's ronfarnham@gmail.com.
Well,
so
let's see if anybody out there...
conditions, it says that... Say that again?
Let's see if anybody's brave enough to do it, because a lot of people are running around like with their heads chopped off like a chicken. I hate to say it, guys, but that's, a lot of people just aren't comprehending anything. But no, well, go ahead.
Look, I'm not here to talk about the problem and keep saying what the problem is. All I hear people talking about is the problem. We got a problem with this. We got a problem with that. I decided a long time ago to be a solution-oriented person. And I was like, what is the solution? There's got to be a solution. And there are solutions. This is just part of the solution. I just put up a poster of one of my movies up in at the bar pool hall down the street with my Renonymous poster in there. And it's Renonymous. Step 1 of the revolution is turn in your birth certificate, because that's just a copy of the legal title that the state has, and they have control of your vessel. So you send it back to them and make your own new certificate of live birth that gives you legal title over your vessel. That way they can't take you away, they can't haul you off to jail, and they can't haul your children away. So anyway, the terms and conditions of the promissory note are that the bearer of the promissory note can come to my house. If I write a $100,000 promissory note, they can come to my property and pick up $1,000 a month against that promissory note until the obligation is fulfilled. Or the bank can also trade the bond on the market, at which time that fulfills the obligation. And every month, the bank sends off a whole stack of bonds to the bond market where they're traded and they're sold off. So you write your promissory note for $100,000 and you give it to the bank. The bank puts it on the top of the pile with their other notes, their Federal Reserve notes, their bonds, their CDs. That's all going to get sold off. Then they enter $100,000 into your account. And now you can go to the bank and you can withdraw Federal Reserve notes and go spend it at will. And they can also fractionally lend it. So once you give them $100,000 to put into your account, or a $100,000 promissory note, they can lend $1 million against that $100,000. So the bank makes money, you make money, and I'm talking money in slang English, because really money is gold and silver. But you make your money, they make their money, and the Federal Reserve notes keep on going into society, into commerce, and everybody's fruitful. So it's a solution. It's a win-win-win solution all the way around. Nobody's going to be homeless anymore. You can fix up your car if you need repairs. You can fix up your house if it needs to be fixed. You can put in that pool. You can send your kids to college. You can fill up your refrigerator. You can buy that TV for the guest room. You can do whatever you want. You can live wherever you want. But they are intentionally manufacturing poverty on purpose so that they can control us and keep us down. They want to keep everybody down. They want to keep us marginal. They want to be the elites in power when really they're just using police force and military force to keep everybody under control, and they'll haul you away and put you in jail. And they made Wesley Snipes, a symbol of that when they jailed him for evading taxes. And they've done it over and over again, and it's just a big fraud. It's a big show. So if everybody starts tendering their promissory notes, we can reach a tipping point, and we can turn this ship around, and we can regain control, and it will be a positive thing. We're not taking anything away from the Federal Reserve or the United States of America Corporation or the banks. It will immediately make everybody more fruitful and have more of everything. I mean, I think that's the point of living here in this simulation or whatever it is we're living. It's a game. Let's have fun with it.
Well, it makes me wonder, if it would work or not. I don't know. I don't think they would want... You'd be competing against the government or the monopoly out there. The Googles and all these other...
Exactly. It is a monopoly, and they need competition. And we need to stand up for ourselves and have some guts. I was talking to Nina Frost tonight on Facebook, and she was talking about the demonstration that she's going to head in Massachusetts for the chemtrails, and I told her, listen, you know, one of the worst ways to try and get things done is through a demonstration, because what's going to happen is you show up, you guys picket in the streets, the police show up, and they arrest people. They're just going to brutalize you, and they're going to film it, and it's not going to be pretty. And you're not going to accomplish anything, because when you get home from your demonstration, you're going to have this adrenaline rush, but you're going to sit down and you're going to eat some eggs and watch some TV and be like, wow, that was fun, and you high-five people, but you still haven't accomplished anything. You still haven't caused that system of chemtrails to shut down. So how do you do it? And I told her, you need to preempt the police strike by, and I told her, I gave her 6 steps. I go, listen, tomorrow, Thursday or Friday, before this Saturday protest comes, you need to go down to the police chief and down to the courthouse, and you need to submit a paperwork that you stamp and autograph. And you tell them, number 1, I am a living soul. And I do not fall into your jurisdiction. Number 2, I am not a citizen, person, individual, resident, domiciled, and taxpayer. Number 3, I have returned my birth certificate to the state, so I really do not fall into your jurisdiction. Number 4, the police are committing fraud because they're acting under fake names, title names. Sergeant Johnson, that title name is not registered with the Secretary of State. So they are out there, these people, under fake IDs where they're not even allowed to be doing commerce, like writing tickets, arresting people, doing paperwork. They're dressing in costumes, acting under fake titles that are not registered with the Secretary of State. And I verified this. I called the Secretary of State, I called police headquarters, and I called FBI headquarters. And I said, where do these police officers and FBI agents get these title names like Special Agent Smith or Sergeant Johnson? Does the Secretary of State give them that title? And is that a real registered fictional name where they can go buy a house under the name Agent Johnson or Special Agent Smith or Sergeant, Dublin or whatever? And they said, no, they just give them those names at their headquarters. They're not registered with the Secretary of State. So those guys are all committing fraud. Police officers, FBI agents, military personnel, fraud. There's no such thing as Sergeant First Class Adams. That's just a fraud name. If you have a Sergeant First Class Adams rounding you up and bringing you to a camp, a FEMA camp, because martial law has been instructed, those are guys dressed up in costumes, pretending to have authority over living souls, and it's all just a fraud. So people have to wrap their minds around that nobody has jurisdiction over you. Nobody. Not the IRS, not the so-called government, not police, not military, not FBI. It's all a big joke. It's a big fraud. They're in costumes, pretending to be something that they're not, and they're not registered.
But you're forgetting about this. About 10 years ago, there was a guy in Texas that decided, well, he was going to be no longer part of Texas. He was no longer going to be a part of the United States. And he served that, onto the state. He served it onto the government. He basically, his property was his own country. And they left the guy alone. But you know what? He couldn't buy food. He couldn't have access to his money in his bank. So they starved the guy out.
Yeah, it sounds like he, sometimes you can paint yourself into a corner if you don't do it the right way. And perhaps he was right and legal in what he was doing, but unless you're prepared to be able to grow your own food, see, it doesn't have to be that way. You can be a living soul and be a non-citizen and still tender promissory notes, because remember, you're just responsible. You're a living soul who is in charge of a corporation, a fictitious entity. So you're not the corporation on that paperwork. You're just responsible for it. Now, if he wanted to really control his property instead of making it a separate country where he removed himself, basically, I live in Florida, you live in Washington. Florida, Washington, all these places we call states, they are actually countries. Countries are governed. Corporations have presidents. That's how you know the United States of America is a corporation, because it has a president, has a secretary, has a treasurer. Those are all corporation seats. Countries are governed. So a country has its own jurisdiction, its own statutes, its own codes. Now, what happened with all of the land, and this guy making his own land a country, I think that was a bad idea, because he didn't really need to do that. What happens is the United States of America, when they took over all of this land here in the North American continent, that they have since invaded, by the way, through Northern Command, which I can get to. But what they did was they opened up the Bureau of Land Management. The United States of America has different departments, and one of those departments is the Bureau of Land Management. And the Bureau of Land Management patented all of the land parcels in the United States. So the United States is a series of countries. The United States of America is a corporation that opened up the Bureau of Land Management and patented all of the land and filed all of the land patents for every parcel in every state in the United States. So they literally control it. Now, when you buy a piece of property, you have equitable title. That means you can sell that piece of property and make profit on it, but you never really control the property. That's why you have to pay taxes, because the state is really the landlord. And you have to pay them for services and benefits like water, fire department, sewer, police, different services. So what you really have to do in order to control that land so you don't have to pay taxes is that you have to update the land patent in your name. Once you, let's say you buy an acre of land for $5,000 in some state, in Washington, in your country of Washington. You've paid it off. Now you take that title and you update the land patent through the Bureau of Land Management, and you get the new patent in your name, and then you post that land patent on the updated land patent on all four corners of your property, showing the world that you are the superior title holder and that you do not own taxes. And you can and then you can pay for whatever services you want. If you want the police to be available to come to your property, then you go down to the police station, you find out how much it is to, be part of that, because that's what your taxes pay for. If you look at the itemized list of the different services on your tax bill, it'll show you, and then you can go selectively choose what you want. You might not have any children going to the local school, so you're not going to pay the local school tax or certain street taxes and just different things that they ding you for. So he went about that in the wrong way, and then he also could have just gone and filed the paperwork to make him to give back his birth certificate. He could create a new certificate of live birth, which is the new master title to his documents, so that way he removes himself from the jurisdiction of the state so they can't haul him away. So you're right. I mean, he may have painted himself into a corner and gone about it the wrong way. There are good ways, and there are every way might be a little bit different. I feel like I found a better way. I use the Sovereignty Education Defense Ministry, which is sedm.org, and they have the Path to Freedom, where you can actually file all the legal paperwork for free. They have all the documentation, and you can file all of the legal paperwork with the clerk of the court, and you dock your paperwork there, and you have to fill out your paperwork the right way, and then you remove yourself from their jurisdiction so that, they can never force you into a courtroom. And that was one of the things I wanted to discuss was about the courtroom. I actually held court the other day in this place where I'm going to be shooting a TV show. And I was in there, I'm joining a pool league to shoot billiards, 8-ball and 9-ball, because I like pool, and I'm good at it, and I've been playing my whole life. And my friend owns this pool hall where we're going to be shooting this TV show about Illuminati bloodlines. It's going to be called Poolies, and we're assassins for the different bloodlines. And I'm going to start exposing the 13 bloodlines that run the physical realm. And so I was down there shooting pool, and one of the guys was talking about having to go to court for a ticket. So I told them, listen, I need to interject here and discuss what the court is really about. And so I went into how the court is really set up and I think you and I talked about this. You had said that your son had some issues and he had to go to court, right?
Oh, yeah. You're absolutely right.
So here's what a court is. In the judicial system here in the United States, what is in operation is maritime admiralty law, and that is the law of the sea, and that is the law that governs the movement of vessels. Your physical body is a vessel that houses your soul, and it moves your soul around in this physical realm, in this frequency from point A to point B. Now, there's a title to your physical vessel, and that's your certificate of live birth at the Vital Statistics Office of the county where you were born. They hold that certificate of live birth. They make a copy of it, and they send you a copy to say, this is who you are, but they have title over you. Now, a court, when you go to the courthouse, you're actually entering
foreign vessel that is dry docked in your country. You're in the country of Washington. The courthouse is